Hi guys, this is Austin. Today I'm going to show you how to do the Fiero 4x6 inch slim pop-up headlight conversion. So here's the difference between the two lights. I've already got my driver's side in. Now even though you see there's a little bit of a gap there where the headlight is not visible from the outside, that's fine because the direction of the light is not at the edge of the light. So here you see we have, let's see, here we have about 6.5 inches that this one opens up. Let's see what this one is. That one is 4.5 or so. So yeah, we dropped about 2 inches with this. So taking the headlights out of the Fiero, pretty easy. A little bit tight. You might have to raise and lower the headlight. You can do that with a little knob on the back that's connected to the motor. There's basically these 4 studs. There's one there, and there's 2 down here underneath my hose. Yeah, there it is. Take those studs off, or take the nuts off those studs, and just it's a matter of pulling the headlight out then. On the left here we have the stock Fiero headlight, and on the right we have the 4x6 headlight. So first you're going to take off the screws in the housing here. It's a T15. And on the 2 tops, and then 1 on each side. And once that shroud is off, here it is. You can save this or throw it away if you want to keep it looking kind of stock or not for later. There's going to be 4 more screws, actually 6. There's going to be 2 adjuster screws, 1 there, 1 on the top, and then 4 screws holding the actual light in itself. Once you get those 4 retaining screws out, you pop off this retainer here, and the headlight should pull right out. That leaves us those adjuster screws again. We're actually going to keep these, so don't discard those when you take them out. If you'd like, you can get some new ones that aren't so rusty, but the main thing we want to keep are these pieces here. Adjuster screws are out. Kind of just have to pop them out. And now your headlight bucket should pull out. Yeesh. I'm gonna get rid of this. So you see on here on the bucket there's these tabs where the adjuster screws were. Now how those actually work is there's this little notch cut out in the adjuster screw itself that slides in that tab. When the screw goes back and forth, it'll actually bring that tab with it, right? We might or might not do this, up to you if you want to kind of duplicate this action. I'm going to do something else. Now there's this little spring here. I chose to get rid of that. Just pull it out the back with some pliers. Right out through here. So I'm keeping the adjuster screw mounts themselves, so all you're going to do is take some pliers, squeeze on them, and push them in the back, push them through the back. And here those are. Now we're actually I just did that to get it out of the way, but we're actually going to keep this one in the same spot. So this is actually a headlight bucket found in any basically 80s Chevy truck, car, you name it. I'll give you a part number in the description, also shown on the screen here, that I ordered this from. But I got mine off of eBay for $7 each. They actually came with the new headlights themselves too that we'll be putting in. These are H4666 headlights. We want H4666 because those guys have the same exact functionality, the low beam and high beam, as the Fiero stock lights. These guys. So this is, now what I did here is I cut an 1.5 by 3.5 inch piece of sheet metal. I made mine out of 14 gauge tread plate. Actually, you don't need to do that. And then I welded that piece of sheet metal onto the edges of the bucket. That'll act as our, that'll give us enough space to act as a bracket to bolt this thing down to here. So if you've got these components, I would just put these here, line it up, and just look at how much you're going to want to take off the top of this fixture. And we're going to basically cut this headlight, this plastic headlight bucket, right off at the top. So I just eyeball mine, and what I'm going to do is take a Sharpie, go straight back and just mark it where I want to cut. and start cutting off on that line. Now, you've got these little metal tabs here. You can cut those off. You're not going to use those unless you do decide you want to in some other setup. I'm going to cut mine off though. One note though is that the headlights are actually keyed. They got these little nubs on the back of them. This is the old one, but it's going to have the same nubs on the back of the headlights. That's so you can determine which spot to clock it in. Now the way that I decided to go, these brackets are actually upside down, so the clocking does not work. All I had to do was cut this key down a little bit extra to get the nubs to fit. And then I flipped it over. The reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to take this already weakened part out here. I'm going to cut out a little bit of extra material from here so I can get the headlight to sit back in the right spot for fitment. So I've got it marked where I want to cut, and a grinder with a cutting wheel should do fine. You know, always practice wearing safety goggles and gloves, and watch where your hands are. Always keep the guard on yours. You might find that cutting this thing off in sections works best. You're gonna have to cut through a few ribs back here and stuff. Just remember, be sure to keep this square hole here for the adjuster screw. And this circle actually is a little too small for what we want to do, so we're gonna just cut it out for the most part. Just gonna eyeball a few things, draw a little bit of a line through it. And the only limitation you have here is do not cut it past this, let's see if you can see that better. Do not cut it past this joint here, okay? You want to cut into that. You want to make sure that you cut above this joint so that you don't weaken the integrity of the open and close action on it. So there it is, cut down a little bit. Now we're going to make this guy sit in there a little better. You're going to want this bottom edge to actually be below the lip here. And in order to do that, what's happening is it's actually catching on this cup. So I'm going to take out some material from this cup, or from this bucket. I'm going to take out this whole tab here, and I'm going to cut a little bit over here and some of the back side out of this one. So I've cut this hole out a little more. I just went pretty much straight down from the circle, and I did cut that tab off on the back. Now my limiting factor is actually this edge right in here. Remember, if you're on the driver's side, it's going to be the opposite. This is the passenger side wheel. Just pay attention to this molding because it is exactly the opposite on the other side. Over here, this is actually limiting me now, so I'm going to cut out a little triangle over here. I cut more of a triangle out. Now this guy sits pretty snug down in here. So we're going to start actually placing the final fitment. To do that, we're going to put the headlight back into the fixture. Where we're going to end up though is about, so depends on where you are, but I'm going to be about a ½ inch from my tab here, up from this this level surface. My tabs are actually lined up with the corner of the slot or the key for the headlights. That's how I was able to measure this. Headlight, my 4x6 and my retainer back into the bucket. Just keep in mind that, again, this corner up here, because I have the bucket upside down, I had to slot it out to put the headlight in. That's just because I wanted to keep the strong material up there and cut out what was already missing down there. So now we're gonna start lining the headlight up with the headlight in there. The reason is because the headlight itself is now going to touch the body of the molding in here, and limit it from being in the position you want. So that looks decent. I made mine even so that I can tell where exactly it's sitting. Just keep in mind that these surfaces here are the only even ones that you're going to have, really. And so I went up a ½ inch from here. Now the first hole we're going to make is going to be in the back of that, where that slotted hole was. What I'm actually going to do is put the I'll put the headlight adjuster screw clip, one of them, back in that slotted hole. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my little punch tool, maybe you could use a screwdriver or something, put it through the back of that hole, and I'm going to smack that with a hammer real quick. Make sure that you have your headlight lined up. Again, the 1/2 inch from my tab is where I got it laying. Smack that with a hammer, and that'll give me a little mark on where to drill my hole. So there's my hole. It's actually 15/64 I found to be about the perfect size for the adjuster screws. Now you can do this a few different ways. You can maybe cut your maybe a 1/2 inch or maybe 3/4 of this plate instead, and do the tab style, just like the original factory setting. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to use some of my own bolts. This bolt here is going to be my new adjuster screw. Actually, no, it's this one here. And I'm actually just going to use some spacers behind it, some flexible rubber. Where is that stuff? Use these guys. I have these little flexible rubber washers, and those are going to compress and decompress, I guess, to determine the spacing of my adjustable headlight screws. So I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to thread this my new adjuster bolt through my hole. I'm going to use this hole to line up where I want to drill the other holes. So first I'm going to start by drilling another 15/64 hole directly below the adjuster screw mount down here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in with my punch from that side of the hole, and the hole that I drill, and punch it into the new plate. So here I drill another 15/64 hole. I've got my plate again mounted up here, and I'm just going to do another punch. I drill this directly in line with here so it looks even. So I got that bolt in now. I actually used a stud for this side. It happened to fit really good, and I put some rubber spacers in here. That'll just help me adjust the play. And that side is just the adjuster screw. So now we got this side in. We're going to do the other side. The other side, we're actually going to drill a square hole to put the other adjuster screw in, and I'm going to do it in the middle. The reason why is because these two screws will adjust the tilt of it. I can tighten this one up or bolt this one down to adjust the height, right? Or vice versa. And the difference between these screws and this one screw over here is going to adjust the, I guess, the angle of the light, right? Some people do 4 screws. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do 3. I think I'll be able to get enough adjustability with just 3. Maybe even better than 4. So you may have to lift up the headlight with this motor screw here. But I'm going to cut that square hole right in the back of this kind of actually rectangular or square piece, right in the middle of that. That's where I'm going to put my adjuster screw. So there I pretty much made a square hole. This tab fits right in here. I started that by actually drilling a little bit of a hole into the edge, and then I took a round file and kind of got the corners in there, and then I took a square file and actually shaped it up on the inside a little bit. So this tab, or this adjuster screw, should pop right in now. There we go. Now same deal. Going to line the new headlight up where it used to be, and make sure that I got the right clearance on each side so it's even. Just keep in mind this lip is not even at all, so don't go by that. And I'm going to take a punch and hammer a punch right in through that hole again and mark my hole spot. Here it is all mounted. You can kind of play with these guys. Just keep in mind that the screw I used here was a lot longer than the stock screw that came with it. See here that is. You can reuse these on the other side, but this side you need about, oh, I'd say another inch on that screw. So here it is, the housing's back on the stock location. So you can see the reason why I left about a 1/2 inch gap there is so I can fit this housing back on. You can see how much extra headlight we're saving there. In here, you know, you can choose whether or not you want to fill this. I'm going to paint those bolts black. My theory is though on this, you know, you can't see it because your headlights are going to be on if they're up. Unless you enjoy staring at your headlights. I don't recommend that though. So I'm not going to make it look perfect. What I'm going to do is cut this section out, lower this top down. There we go. So I cut it down a little bit. You might want to take your time lining it up and stuff. I basically cut this thing straight where the angle used to be, the curve down. And I'm just going to set this on top here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these screw holes to mount this thing. I'm going to get some longer screws than these actually, and oh, where'd they go? I'm going to use some standoff type things or some shims to put in there to space out the distance between the screw and the bumper guide. So there it is. There's my standoff back there. Had to cut that to length. I use another rubber washer on the front just so I don't crack the plastic bump. That's basically all you need. Just get a longer screw that fits, stick it through there. I'm going to do the other side with this one screwed in already, just so I can line up the hole on this side a lot easier. There it is. I'm going to paint these screws. Got that one second shim in. Now you might notice I did a good job. I lined up my adjuster screw here, and that one you can actually access just through the housing. Now you might want to clean yours up a little bit, maybe like caulk this or put some kind of glue under there. And getting it back in is fairly straightforward. There's some studs on the bottom. I would leave the nuts on the studs to make sure you have enough room to get the plate between the studs. I don't know if you can see here, way down there. Yeah, you can't see it, but just slide the plate on over the studs and then tighten them down. All installed. It looks pretty dang good. Now just keep in mind adjusting the harness. Keep in mind of the harness routing and all that, and also now's the time where I'm going to have some fun adjusting the screws and getting the beams pointed in the correct direction. So that's our slim headlight install, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Give me some comments or anything if you have any feedback or questions for me. Find a better way to do it, I'd love to hear about it from you guys too. Go over and check out some of my other videos, my vertical door install maybe, or my dew wipe and felt guide install. See you next time.